Okay, today we are talking about every cushion foundation from the brand TIRTIR, which has quite amount of buzz for the last 2 years, 1 or 2 years probably. If you count the Asian market, then it has like buzz longer than that, but especially for the recent 1 year, the red TIRTIR cushion has a lot of buzz on TikTok, on like basically on every country, right? And they since released a couple more foundations, and today we are comparing all 6 of them. They do have another blue one that I don't have, but that one is more of a sunscreen mixed with foundation that it has brightening effect, so it's like not typically a foundation. I would call that just like a primer sunscreen type of thing, so that one is not included. Before the review, let's talk about my skin type and color. Normal to combo type of skin, that my face overall is normal, but my T-zone tend to be pretty oily. And I have very big pores, and the shape of my pore makes foundation very easy to settle into them. So it is a big problem for me and something that I pay attention a lot when it comes to foundation. So I'll be telling you which one tend to settle into my pores and which one is not. For my skin color, I am light medium warm olive. It might not appear like that on the camera sometimes because of the lighting, but believe me, I'm truly light medium warm olive. You can see my foundation shade reference in the description box. Every shade I'm reviewing today is actually the same shade across all of the formulas, the shade 23N. And the way I'm reviewing this is to compare the red one to every single one of the other cushion, because I think people know the red one the most and probably are most interested in how the red one compared to the other ones. So I'm applying the red one on the left side of my face and changing what foundation is on the right side of my face. Let's start with the red one. The red one is actually my favorite for quite like couple months, I think more than half a year. And the one that I originally purchased is almost empty. Like I have to struggle to get products from it. It has almost full coverage, like it's just a tiny little bit less than a true full coverage, but it's pretty full coverage. And it has this skin-like finish. It's not too matte, and it's also not very glowy at all. It doesn't really have much glow. It's pretty much just satiny. And I personally almost never found this foundation settle into my pores, and the only time it does that is when I apply too much. So this is one thing to note about a lot of TIRTIR cushion foundation, is a lot of them are very full coverage. So if you apply too much, it is very easily to become too much. So you're gonna see in some of the footage I have to do take 2, take 3 to actually get a right amount of foundation for some other formulas. But this one I'm pretty familiar with. So I just do a little light tap on the sponge. If you see the foundation in a very solid block on your sponge in a large area, that probably means you're applying too much. So if you already have this and you think it's looking too heavy, just try to use less. I think that's the only problem happening here. That's about this red cushion. I think I don't need to say too much. A lot of people love this. This Musk Fit Crystal Mesh Cushion. So this is the only one that's in a mesh. All the other ones are in the typical traditional sponge type of cushion foundation, but this one is in the mesh, which I like. And this shade is a little bit paler than the red one for some reason. You can see it in the footage. And this one is a glowy cushion, so it's not like super oily glowy, but slightly more glowy than like skin-like finish type of stuff. So if you like that, I think you would like this as well. I think this one has a tiny little bit less of coverage, but if you apply a little bit more, you can still get pretty full coverage. So I think this is like a medium coverage that's buildable. So yeah, this is I think the only one that's super different than the other cushions because it's, you know, a glowy that's like a tiny little bit less coverage type of cushion. I do really like this one. Yeah, not much to say. It's a great glowy cushion. It might not be super special, but I like it and it doesn't really settle into my pores. The only thing about this is the shade range. I hope they do more shades. So next is the black cushion. It is called the Mask Fit cushion. There's no other name, just called Mask Fit. This cushion, I personally find it has like a tiny little bit less coverage than the other ones, just a tiny little bit less. And the finish is almost the same. It's like a satiny like skin finish, not too matte at all. And I personally find this sometimes settling into my pores. I do have a separate comparison video for all of these formulas, so if you are interested, I'm gonna list the separate review videos down below. So sometimes when I try this foundation, I notice this foundation settling into my pores pretty badly. But today I didn't notice that. I think that's partially because I have been exfoliating my skin yesterday. And today I also am like swatching and reviewing, so I'm wiping off things off my skin a lot. So my skin is extremely exfoliate. So there's no amount of like dead skin that's on my skin to make this one look not smooth, you know? So if you, I think anybody wouldn't have very exfoliated skin every day in your daily life because that's not healthy. Okay, I'm not purposefully doing this. It's because I'm reviewing stuff. Because of that, I feel like this one I recommend less for people who are like me, like you have like a pore problem or texture problem that you don't want a foundation that has the risk to settle into your pores or look not right on your skin. And the pink one actually is very similar to the red one and the black one. I think it has a touch more coverage than the red one, and it also sometimes tend to be settling into my pores. It's the same experience with the black one because not every day your skin is going to be super exfoliated, so I do find sometimes this settling into my pores. So personally, this one is not my favorite, and there's not too much to say because this is very similar to the red one, just a tiny little bit of coverage difference, the same finish, and tend to settling into your pores a little bit more. And this silver one, this is called the Mask Fit Aura cushion. I think this is again very similar to the red one, to the pink one, and the black one. But this one I do feel like it has a little bit more coverage than the red one, and also it's a little bit more matte than the red one, but it's all very subtle difference. And this one, similar to the pink and the black one, sometimes settle into my pores. So again, if that's something that you worry about a lot, maybe don't get this one, right? The last one is the newest addition to their cushion foundation line. It's this Mask Fit AI Filter cushion in the orange packaging. This one is actually similar to the red one, but a whole lot different. First of all, you can see in the footage I did take 3 to achieve this finish, because take 1, initially I noticed that it's too much foundation. I like pressed it with a full pressure, immediately too much. I feel like that's more than like a full face of amount of product, and I'm using a mini, you know, like a mini puff and a mini cushion, so it should be easier to take the right amount than a full-size cushion, right? And I think you can also notice that the color is extremely like orange. Like take 1, take 2, you can both see that. I think in take 1, take 2, take 3, you can all see that it's super yellowy orange more than any of the other cushion, and it's the same shade. So if you are anywhere in like not a warm yellowy skin undertone, I don't think this shade is gonna be good for you. And even if the other shade, I'm thinking maybe they are more yellow as well. You have to see more, like watch more review or swatches before you make your decision, or if you have a counter, try the color first. The second take, I took less, but it's still too much. And on the third take, it's actually still a little bit too much, but it was less than before, so I was able to make it work. So this one is extreme full coverage. I haven't used anything this full coverage in a very long time actually. So if that's not your thing, stay away from this one. This one is super full coverage, but at the same time it's not settling into my pores. It's pretty smoothing. It says it's AI filter, which I think is just throwing the buzzwords AI in it. I think the correct name should be filter cushion, because it does kind of, it would be like kind of a buzzword to say it's a filter cushion as well, but it is very full coverage and it is very smoothing. So I think it's acceptable if they name it filter cushion. If you want natural finish, stay away from this one. It's extreme coverage. I think right now, after melting into my skin for maybe half an hour, I think this look like more normal right now, but before it was like a mask on my skin. Not in a bad way, just because it's very full coverage. Actually, take 1, take 2 is reminding me of the Chloe Morello trying the Marc Jacob Remarkable foundation, the very full coverage one, if you know that. Like, that video is forever stay into my mind. Whenever I try a foundation that's super full coverage, reminds me of that video. I think you know enough about all of these cushions, so which one do I recommend, right? So I think my recommendation would be these 3 for the different purposes. These 3, like I see people recommend the pink one, but for me, I feel like those 3 are just very similar to the red one that just like has a tiny little bit of difference that's not even that noticeable at all, and they don't really have that much of shade variety. Like they don't really have that much shade available, so why not just get this one? This one is more available in more places, available in more shades, right? And this one doesn't really have the risk of settling into my pores and doesn't look right? I think this one is still the top one among all of this. I do still love this one, and again, I'm almost done with this one and I have a backup. For this one, it's for someone who wants a little bit less coverage and more glowy finish. It's very straightforward. It might not be more glowy and like really sheer compared to other foundations. It's still a medium coverage and it's still like natural finish but a little bit more glowy. But compared to all the other tier 2 cushions, this is definitely more sheer and more glowy. And this one, like I just said, super full coverage, extreme full coverage. And I think that's partially because the sponge. Like, maybe let's compare to the red one. You can see the red one in a much finer sponge, right? And this orange one, the pore is like very big. I think that just making you tend to take more product, right? Because the pore is bigger. So if you are not confident about, controlling the amount that you use, this one is probably not that great. But again, for how full coverage it is, if you really like a natural finish, super full coverage, it looks smoothing on your skin, I do still think this one is a great choice. And unfortunately, I think these 2 don't really have that much shade either. they only extended the shade for this one, so if you want more shade choices, I think this is your only choice, and it's a great choice actually. So that's my thought for the Tier cushion. I hope this is helpful because a lot of people has been asking me to do this video and say they're interested, and I do feel like for this amount of cushion it's kind of confusing sometimes, so I hope I provided some useful information for you, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.